Petina to Rouse Hill Baptist Church. It's really exciting to have you here this morning. It will be morning when I think most people watch this, but we have been doing our services mostly through podcast. So some people will be listening to us through podcast, and then others will also be able to watch this video on YouTube. So it's great to have you with us. For those of you who don't know, Petina is serving in Thailand. So we are going to hear a little bit about her history this morning, also what she's doing over in Thailand and how she's going with the whole COVID situation as well. So welcome. Petina, can you tell us a bit about where did you grow up? What's your family situation?
Well, hi to everyone at Rouse Hill. Thank you for having me this morning. It's wonderful to be able to share with you in this format. So my situation is I'm Sydney born and bred, and I have come from a Christian family. So both my parents were followers of Jesus. So for me, going to church and Sunday school and brigades and Vacation Bible Club have all been sort of ingrained into life for me. And I think just growing up, my parents were very, I guess I learnt to share Jesus with people from a pretty early age. I remember going to school and I was known as the little Christian girl. And so I think just sharing Jesus has been something that's been pretty ingrained into who I am through my parents' raising and background. Yeah.
So, grew up with your parents. Do you have any siblings?
Yes. So I've got two younger brothers. One of them is married, so I also have a sister-in-law. So one of them is my brother and his wife are in Canberra, and then my younger brother, although he's in his 20s, is still at home with mum and dad. So he's just, I think, saving and trying to work out what kind of direction he's going to take.
Yeah. Very cool. So you said growing up in a Christian family, going to church, Bible camps, all those kind of things being very much leading you to be someone who enjoys sharing your faith. Can you tell us a little bit about how did it go from going to those places but actually taking that faith on for yourself personally?
Yeah. I think there are a number of significant events in my life that enabled me to kind of do that. I think university was a big factor for me in that. So I went to the Australian Catholic University, but its name doesn't necessarily give away any form of what the university was like. And it was, I think, the first time that I'd really kind of experienced life outside my own little bubble. I didn't go to a Christian school. I went to a state school, but my friends kind of, in some respect, were the good, moral people that I would be expected to have. And so I think university was the first time that I was really kind of exposed to life outside of what I knew of reality in my own world, and just trying to learn how to love people that looked and had very different worldviews and ideas of the world and behaviour patterns and what that looked like. And I think I started some of my short-term mission trips as in university, as a teenager, early 20s, and I think that was very formative for me too, in just understanding God's bigger picture and His kingdom and what that means to me and my role in that. I think Bible college was quite formative for me in just being able to declare that my faith was mine and not my parents' faith.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if any of you know of Razi Zachariah, who recently passed away, but a lot of his books also shaped my thinking and understanding of faith, and that being a very personal journey.
That's great. it's always good to hear like just different people's stories and how their faith becomes their own. For some of us, it's a moment in time, and for others, it's that constant shape. I mean, for all of us, it's the constant shaping God does. But for some of us, growing up in the church and just seeing, well, God, He just pushes us in different ways through different places. I actually went to Australian Catholic University as well, so yeah, it's a good place, but definitely challenging at times.
Yeah.
So, grew up in a Christian home, started to own that faith as you went through university and Bible college. So, talk to us a little bit about in what ways was God pulling you towards mission, and then how did that grow into a desire to go and serve in Thailand?
That's a great question. So I actually call myself a reluctant missionary because it was not the plan that I had for myself. It's obviously the plan that God had for me, but it's not the plan I had for myself. And I was pretty much kicking and screaming the entire way to Thailand. So I think for me, it started through some short-term mission trips that I did. My first one was to another Asian country, global interaction. And I was 18 or 19. So for me, it was a bit of an adventure to spread my wings a little bit and see the world and, get out of mum and dad's clutches for 2 weeks and that kind of thing. And it was a really eye-opening experience for me because it showed me the importance of mission. Up until that point, I hated mission Sundays. I hated mission speakers. It was just so boring and irrelevant and not applicable to me in my life.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the start of the journey. I took a few more trips after that. And each trip, God just revealed something more about His kingdom, His mission, my part in that, and the reasons why mission was so important. And I grew a love for it, but I grew a love for it in the point of view that it was important for us in Australia to advocate and support the missionaries that were going overseas.
Right.
So I never kind of ever signed up to go until I got to a point where I was in a neighbouring country, and it was a country that is somewhat poorer than the country that I'm currently in, and just seeing the abject poverty over there just really challenged me. And I said to God, you've shown me this for a reason, and I don't understand it, but it breaks my heart, and I know it breaks yours. How can I go back to Australia and ignore what it is that you've shown me here?
Yeah.
And I think that was the start of me recognizing the call that God had placed on my life.
Yeah.
And going, okay, I can't ignore this anymore. I need to be obedient to it, even though it's not necessarily something I'm rejoicing over. It is God's call, and so I need to be obedient to following that.
Yeah.
And then in terms of how I came to Thailand, again, Thailand was not my first choice. I'd been to Thailand before and really hated it, and actually said, God, don't ever send me to Thailand.
Dangerous things.
So the lesson is don't say no to God. But I remember being on a different mission trip and just sharing some of my experiences with the team. And all the experiences that I shared at that point in time was about my trip to Thailand. And one of my friends very wisely said to me, Petina, I think God's talking to you about Thailand. I think there's something in there that you're not listening to. And I was like, no, you're wrong. But she was right. And so I think I took that back and started praying over that. And God said, yes, Thailand is where I'm sending you. And in all honesty, it has been the best in terms of the places that global interaction works and the places that I could have ended up. Thailand was the best place for me.
Yeah.
God knew that. God knew that my personality and the team that I would be working with and the ministry that we're involved in would just be more suited to me. And so it's by His grace that He's actually landed me here.
Yeah. Yeah, I love hearing that kind of, I didn't want to be a missionary. I didn't want to go. and God just did that work on, okay, well, go on a few trips, enjoy them. And you're like, yep, great, I'm enjoying this. I love that we can support our missionaries in this way, in this short-term way. And then God was just working, chipping away at your heart and pointing to you towards the place you're meant to be. Like, it's really encouraging to hear that.
Yeah, and I had a lot of really faithful friends who were keying that whether they knew what they were saying at the time or not. I don't know whether that friend who mentioned that to me about Thailand knew what she was saying.
Yeah.
But a lot of people that could see where God was leading me and just didn't push, but just kind of gently persuaded and led me down that path. So,
that importance of just having good people and good fellowship and encouraging each other as Christians has obviously been quite crucial in your journey towards going where God was calling you. It's really exciting. So tell us a bit about pre-COVID. Things look a little bit different at the moment. We'll talk about that in a minute. But before all this COVID stuff started, or before the pandemic let loose in our world, what were you doing within the community? Give us a bit of an insight into what a week in your life looks like.
Yeah. So for us, I guess the purpose or the goal that we want to achieve from being, living and serving here is to see communities of faith develop that reflect the culture and context in which the Thai people live, and so that they're worshipping God in a way that is culturally appropriate for them. The way that we do that is varied. So largely it's a relationship building ministry. That means that for us it's a lot of community engagement. So we might be attending community events and festivals. We might be going to farms to pick fruit or plant rice or fish. We might be helping the chief and his friends build, houses, or it means we might be involved in helping the poor put in a toilet. It can mean a whole different thing depending on need and community and the context that we have. For me personally, largely it revolves around English teaching. So I have a volunteer position in a high school, local high school, where I teach English to the students there for an hour. Each grade gets an hour a week with me, and often that involves extracurricular activities as well. So I went to the principal's farewell. I've been to sports days and English days and open days and a whole bunch of other different things within the school community. I have done some teaching on a one-to-one kind of basis for people in the community who want to learn. It might mean just going out and having coffee with a friend, or talking to a friend about her relationships. One of my friends has a Western boyfriend, so sorting through some of that kind of thing, and just being available, building genuine relationships. Still very much involved in language learning. So pre-COVID, I was learning 5 hours a week, face-to-face time. Just being present, I think.
Yeah, that's great. I love what you said at the start there about coming to them from where they're at. Like, we're not going to bring this, here's what church looks like in Australia, let's redo that. But instead, let's actually have a look into what does your culture look like and how has God made that unique?
Yeah. So Christianity's been in Thailand for 200 plus years.
Yeah.
But it's never penetrated what we call the ethnically Thai, the majority Thai community, because of their deep connection to Buddhism and their deep connection to community. Christianity is seen as something that comes in and destroys all of that.
Right.
So it's very much about trying to say, no, you can still be who God has created you to be as Thai people.
Yeah.
But let's look at the ways that what you do honors Him.
Yeah.
And if necessary, change some of the things that you do. so that we're not destroying your culture completely, but allowing you to worship in ways that reflect who God has created you to be.
Yeah, there's that authenticity, not trying to fit someone else's model, but worship God in all of who He's created you to be. Which is, I think it's so exciting to see mission happening like that, and being able to pass that over to like the local community and see what Jesus does within their own context. Yeah. So out in the community, spending a lot of time with people, building relationships, which I think like just spreading the gospel is so relational. Like when we do it without that, it's just so ineffective. So it's great to hear that's what you guys are doing. So you've been doing that for, how long have you been in Thailand for now?
I've been in Thailand for 6 years.
Yeah.
3 here in Chiang Rai and 3 in the rural community of Banawang.
Yeah. So 6 years, community building, relationship building, getting just to have that real privilege of sitting with people and hearing them. And then COVID hits and things changed a bit. So can you tell us a bit about what's been happening in Thailand and how that's affected your ministry and how you're going with that?
Yeah. I don't think anyone really expected what was going to happen or how it was going to affect the country. I know I certainly didn't. So it's been a bit of adjusting for me. So Thailand, in terms of what's happening in the country, we're in a state of emergency, which basically means that the Prime Minister has, we're in a state of emergency.
Yeah.
And then we're also in a curfew. So you've got to be at home by 11 at night. You can't go out before 4, which for most Westerners is not an issue, but it is for Thai people.
Okay.
They're fairly early risers. So, things are starting to, loosen up a bit. So shops are now open. There are some kind of beauty parlors and places of recreation that are opened up, but definitely not everything, and still social distancing requirements in all of that. In terms of ministry, so we have had to cancel some functions and events. We are still, although there's no one living in Banawang anymore, we still are involved in the community of faith that's up there in terms of nurturing and discipling them. We haven't been able to visit, and we had to cancel the leadership training church camp that we had planned for those communities. Personally, it means I haven't been able to meet face to face with my friends and my contacts in my community. Some of them have been quite fearful and have been at home. Others, it's just not a wise thing for me to be in contact with them. Funerals, there's no restriction on funerals at the moment, and I actually had to miss out on going to a funeral because of COVID, which is a pretty big deal here. It's been a difficult journey. I'm not one to make phone calls. I struggle with that, so it's been hard to stay connected to my friends.
Yeah.
So hopefully that now that things are easing up, I'll be able to make some time to get in contact with them. School has been pushed back 6 weeks, so school holidays started around about the time things got pretty strict.
Yeah.
So Thai school holidays are from March to May. It was kind of, school was finishing up as things got strict. And they were supposed to go back probably this week or next week. But the start of the academic year has been pushed back to July 1st. So, there'll be no teaching for me till at least July.
Yeah. Sounds very isolating for you and fathers who are serving.
It's been a bit of a difficult journey. But God has sustained me through it.
Yeah, it's really good to hear. And it's the numbers in Thailand are pretty good at the moment in terms of cases, but still the devastating effect of the lack of tourism for people has been pretty rough.
Yeah. So the numbers, I think, for the past month have been single digits.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of people as in Australia have lost their jobs.
Yeah.
We don't have the same social security that you do in Australia. So not everybody's eligible for what social security they do have.
Yeah.
Tourism is huge in Thailand. And obviously there's no external tourism coming in. There's no very little internal tourism at the moment as well.
Yeah.
So lots of, people in the restaurant industry, in hotels, in hospitality, all the tourist places have had to close their borders. Even the zoos and wildlife parks are suffering in terms of they just don't have the food to feed the animals.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, it's been, in terms of the economy, Thailand's taking a bit of a hit. Lots of people lost their jobs and just not sure when things are going to start to open up and people can return to work.
Yeah. It sounds like there's going to be a big role for you guys as all these restrictions start easing in terms of just being with people and sharing God's love and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, 2 questions for prayer. One, how can we be praying for Thailand? And then the second one, how can we be praying for you personally?
Yeah, I think praying for Thailand, just, things have been really good at the moment in terms of COVID. So we don't want to see a second wave as things kind of open up. People are getting desperate, and so they want things to be done a little bit quicker than maybe they should be. Just pray against the second wave. Pray for people's health and safety and wellness. So July is the start of what we call Buddhist Lent, which is a time of where people stay where they are anyway, particularly the monks. And it's a bit of a spiritual resurgence, if you like. So that starts in July. So we'll be praying, for Buddhist Lent and for people to come to know Jesus and see Jesus. And we have a whole bunch of resources that we can send around Buddhist Lent time as well, if you're interested. Pray, I guess, that people will see Jesus in the midst of this tragedy, that he will be revealing himself to them, be using his church to build his kingdom here. For me personally, I think just pray that God will sustain me till I come home, and I don't know when that's going to be yet.
Pray you get a flight home too.
Pray that I get a flight home. Pray for my visa, which is due in June. To be renewed in June. So there's travel required for that. I've got to go to Chiang Mai for that. Just flights, coming home, visa, I think, and just God sustaining me. And even though I'm due to come home, that I'll be really present here while I'm here. And really connected here.
Definitely. If people want to hear more about what's happening for you and be praying for you, how can they contact you?
So there's 2 main ways. You can get onto the Global Interaction website, and you can find that just by typing Global Interaction Australia, or talk to Kate. Kate gets all my newsletters, and she'd be happy to pass them on or pass on my email address if you want to make some personal contact.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us and taking some time out of your day to speak to us. We appreciate it. We're praying for you as a church. We look forward to when you do get that flight back home. We look forward to having you here in person and being able to hear more of your story and just support and encourage you. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kate, for this time, and thank you, Rathhill, for just support, your prayers, your encouragement. It's a real blessing, and I wouldn't be here without you. So thank you.